Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to a very exciting part of the symposium where experts of various fields will be presenting their research to the audience today. The first speaker for the day is Professor Dr. Shahid Pervez from the Khan University, who will be shedding light on the topic of dawn of the age of inquiry, reason, and science. But first, allow me to introduce him. Dr. Shahid Pervez is a professor and senior consultant histopathologist at AKUH. His major diagnostic and research interests include breast pathology, neoplastic hematopathology, and predictive pathology. He has supervised several FCPS and PhD students and published extensively with over 230 research publications and several book chapters. He is also editor of Atlas of Diagnostic and Predictive Histopathology, the second edition, which is published in Springer magazine in 2020. He has served in various leadership positions and was elected Counselor of College of Physicians and Surgeons, Pakistan, and editor of CPSP official journal, JCPSP, having an impact factor of over 1. He is also country advisor and senior examiner of Royal College of Pathologies, UK. He played a pivotal role in establishing vibrant and active pathology forums and is a founder president of IAP Pakistan Division, Histopathology and Cytology Society of Pakistan, HCSP, and SARC Academy of Cytology and Histopathology. Dr. Pervez also played a pivotal role in reviving Karachi Cancer Registry, KCR, and is a chair of KCR, and along with being vice chair of National Steering Committee for Cancer Registry. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Dr. Shahid Pervez.
Thank you for the very kind introduction. So, all dignitaries, students, audience. The science, I am a pathologist, but the good thing about the pathologist is that we have our 1 foot in basic sciences and 1 foot in clinical sciences. So we enjoy both medicine and science. The title of my talk may appear a bit interesting and intriguing as well. But later when I found out about the audience, I thought that maybe initial 5 to 10 minutes about this, and then I will switch over to the title of my talk, which I changed, is that why cancer is becoming the leading cause of death worldwide. Because as a pathologist, when I joined Khan University way back in 1991, and this month I will complete 32 years. So that's what we do most of the time, cancer, no cancer, what kind of cancer, and so on. So I will start with a initial 5-6 minutes of a documentary. My favorite scientist, Brian Cox, who's a physicist at the University of Manchester, but now working at CERN, the particle physics, the facility at the border of the France and the Switzerland. If you ever go to Westminster Abbey, where the Sir Isaac Newton grave is, it is written on the wall that let mortals rejoice that such great an ornament of the human race had existed. So I think we start with the documentary with the lights off, please, so people can look at it, and we will see the initial 6-7 minutes, and then we will move on. Maybe I sit with you. I'm sorry, it's very engaging, but we stop here. For instance, Britain, with which constitute 1% of the population of the world, contributes about 15% of the cutting-edge, high-impact research. The number of Nobel laureates, are per capita or disproportionately, only Cambridge alone boasts about 100 Nobel laureates, So it's a society which value the inquiry mind, right? So in this series, when you move on, there are several parts of it. It says that it may be a coincidence that people like Isaac Newton, Michael Faraday, Charles Darwin, and so on were born in United Kingdom. But the fact that they were also able to contribute and deliver is certainly not left to the chance, right? It is all politicians and in particular the society, which know the importance and value of science. And that is the difference between the developed world and us, right? So I think I will leave that at this point, and then I will move on to a subject which I think the students of the biological and biomedical sciences probably will find very interesting and intriguing also. And because as I said, I practice it day in and day out, so we'll share some of the important things about cancer with you. So let's move to the next slide, please. Oh, I can do it from here. Okay. Maybe lights dim. Lights, yeah. Right. So why is cancer becoming the leading cause of death worldwide? Okay, where is the sensor? Oh, okay. So again, the divide is everywhere, right? Developing countries are disproportionately affected by the increasing number of cancers. Now, cancer is increasing for various reasons, and one of the major reasons is that we are living longer, right? Because there are many cancers which come with age. For instance, prostatic cancer, which is the most common cancer in males, quite uncommon, say, before the age of 50 or even 60, right? More than 60% of the world's total cases occur in this part of the world. Africa, Asia, Central and South America, and these regions accounts for about 70% of the world's cancer deaths. A situation that is made worse by the lack of early detection and access to the treatment. And in particular, this Asia-Pacific region, which spans from Pakistan till Australia, about 60% of the world's population lives here. Think of two most populous countries, India, China. Pakistan is the 5th most populous country. Indonesia is the 4th most populous country. So, in fact, every 3rd person on the planet is either Chinese or Indian, right? So, if you have that myth in your mind that cancer is a major problem of the West and not us, you are grossly mistaken, We, unfortunately, in things, which are not to celebrate, are always, rank on the top, right? Including the cancer prevalence, incidence, and deaths. This is our city, one of the most populous cities, the urban jungle, certainly in the 10 top 10 most populous cities of the world, right? And still we don't know what's the population of this city, but at least we know that it will be something like 20 million or above, right? And for a city like this, will you imagine that for 10 years there was no cancer registry? The first cancer registry was initiated by a pathologist called Yasmin Burguri. She was a pathologist at the Civil Hospital, Karachi, and she was also part-time lecturer at Aga Khan University way back in 1995. And it was called the Karachi South Cancer Registry. And that was the only data which was used by the WHO or IARC to extrapolate the prevalence or incidence of cancer in Pakistan and the major risk factors. About, I think in 2008, one day, she didn't get up. So she was an extremely hardworking lady, but a very private person. She didn't share any data at that time with anyone, and we allowed her because we thought, things are moving, so why to make, hurdles. So, like happens, it all came to standstill. And for 10 years, there was no cancer registry in Karachi. And at that time, Shaukat Khanam took the lead. And along with the hospitals within Lahore and surrounding areas, they initiated the Punjab, so-called Punjab Cancer Registry. It is in fact the Lahore Cancer Registry. And now, this time, the WHO used that data to extrapolate the cancer incidence and prevalence in Pakistan. The cancer registries are very important for the reason is that I will show you later that though cancer is due to either DNA damage or some problems with the regulation, however, the lifestyle factors are extremely important. And lifestyle includes what you eat, you smoke or not, where you live, you exercise or not, and things like that. So cancer registries are very important, not only for a country, but also within the geographic regions. For example, the cancer incidence in Karachi and rest of the Sindh is quite different from what is in Balochistan or Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. It's because of the lifestyle, If you go to Japan, for instance, the most common cancer is stomach, right? Like you carry the stethoscope, they carry the endoscopes. But these Japanese, if they migrate to United States, after some times their cancer incidence becomes more like the Native Americans, though genes are the same. So that's why, we, after a long time, started, the Karachi Cancer Registry again, and this was the first paper which we published for 3 years, our data from 2017 to 2019, and now the consolidated data of the 5 years is also will be published, I think, in 2 to 3 days. The paper, the manuscript is coming. So I will be showing the data of the 5 years, the graphs, the tables, and figures from that. So this is the age standardized incidence rate of commonest tumors in adult males, that is 20 and above, in Karachi Cancer Registry for the last 5 years, 17 to 21. And these are males, and you see, the oral cavity cancer is the most common cancer, right? And you know that chewing the way the rampant gutka, mawa, all those things which are highly carcinogenic, right? Followed by liver, again because of the hepatitis B and C. And these are preventable cancers, right? Another, the colorectal cancer, because of the lifestyle, the fast food and plus I'm sure some genetics, the colorectal cancer which used to be towards the end about 20 years ago is now on number 3. And the similar pattern we have seen in the National Cancer Registry in 75 years, the first data of the National Cancer Registry is being published. I think it will come in the June issue of Journal of College of Physicians and Surgeons, Pakistan. The lung cancer, about 20-25 years ago, this used to be here, right? But now, I think for various reasons, I think the chewing is still socially more acceptable. So people are switching. For instance, in aeroplanes you can't smoke, but the other day I was coming from Lahore, the guy next to me was comfortably chewing continuously. Probably it's more cheaper, more addictive, and so on, right? So this is perfectly, and as per our data, 75 to 80% who present with oral cancer are chronic chewers, followed by smokers, right? In the outside subcontinents, the major cause of oral cancer is smoking followed by alcohol. But in the subcontinent, it is chewing followed by smoking. Supposedly, the alcohol is very down the list. And this is females of Karachi. Breast cancer is very high, unfortunately. Why it is so high, that's a lecture in its own right. One of the highest in Asia, unfortunately. If you exclude the Ashkenazi Jews means the Jews of European origin. Like Einstein was a Ashkenazi Jew. So again, they have a conservative society, the cousin marriages and marriages within the, their community. Probably that may also play, because if marriages are in first cousins or second cousins even, the diversity of the genetic pool, is restricted. So, getting married within family probably is not good for the genes, right? So that may be one reason. So one of the highest, unfortunately in Asia. And again, number 2 is the oral cancer, ovary, esophagus, and so on, right? And these are the commonest cancers in children and adolescents. And these are mostly due to some random genetic mutations. And like the rest of the world, the top cancers in children and adolescents are not very different. For example, in children, leukemias, which you call blood cancer, lymphoblastic leukemia is the most common cancer. And fortunately, if treated promptly, 95% of the lymphoblastic leukemias in children are curable, right? So this is what is on Globocan, IARC, WHO, and you see that if you combine both genders, breast is the most common cancer, followed by oral cavity, right? In males, oral cancer is the most common, and in females, breast cancer is the most common. So in Karachi Cancer Registry data, there are more females with cancers than males. It's because the breast cancer incidence is so high. We diagnose, in youngish compared to the Western world, very common in, say, 40s, 30s, even 20s, right? We have keep on diagnosing. So how to address cancer control? Now, in developed countries, in many developed countries, cancer has superseded the heart diseases as the most common cause of death. The reason is that for heart diseases, we have made some major, breakthroughs, both in terms of prevention as well as intervention. Even in Karachi, every other hospital will be doing these angiography, angioplasty, bypass surgeries, and so on, right? And also, the people are, particularly the educated people are sensitive. They are conscious about their physical health, their heart, and so on. Now, cancer is not one disease. There are several hundred types of cancers, each one with a different biology, right? And as I said, that as we are living longer, the chances to develop a cancer in due course of time certainly increases, right? Because there is a limit that our, repair system, DNA repair system, may repair the damaged DNA. It is postulated that if you control all things, like people don't die of infections or heart disease or whatever, and they live indefinitely, everyone will die of cancer, because there is a limit that the inbuilt DNA repair systems can repair the DNA damage which is going on all the time, this wear and tear, what you call it, right? So in many developed countries, the cancer has superseded the heart diseases as the leading cause of death, right? So there is a marked disparity in the cancer burden around the world, and the expression one size fits for all does not hold true for cancer control programs. So that's why cancer registries are important. Here, oral cancer is the most common cancer in Karachi. If you go to Quetta and Balochistan, esophageal cancer is the most common cancer, right? So even within a country, depending on the lifestyle. Hence, first and foremost, we need to understand the specific and unique local problems and then strive to find the best solutions. So this data helps, to prioritize whatever, resources, both financial and human, are available. So 5 pillars of cancer control include knowledge about cancer, conducting physical checkups, improving medical facilities, training specialists, and cancer research. Number 2 mainly include the screening programs, and unfortunately we don't have any screening program, like pap smear for cervix cancer or mammogram for breast cancer and so on, right? Okay. So it is true that cancer can be controlled, but any major reduction in cancer mortality rates will come not from cures, but from prevention, right? As I mentioned, that about 80% of those who present with oral cancer are chewers, chronic chewers, right? Perfectly preventable. Now, I move on to something, again, very intriguing. This is cutting from the Dawn newspaper, because that paper, which I will show you, was widely, it caused a kind of outrage among the scientists, that most cancer cases are caused by bad luck. And I need to add, by bad luck mutations, right? Good luck and bad luck is always, with us, particularly in countries like ours. We don't choose our parents, right? So today, if I am standing with you, with the blessing of God, it doesn't mean that, and I earn say 20 times more than my driver, it doesn't mean that I am 20 times smarter than my driver, right? And this disparity, unfortunately, is man-made, right? It's not the God's will, it's man-made, right? There's so much disparity. So a person, who is born in 50% of the Karachi population live in slums. They are trapped in the, in this cycle of poverty. And we are responsible for that. In some developed countries, like Scandinavian countries like Sweden and Norway, that disparity is reduced to very little, not like this that some have everything and the others have nothing, So, talent is universal, opportunities are not, right? So, I think if, all of us who are here have this opportunity to be here, it's because of our good luck, right? Because, as I said, your servant may be much more talented than you, but didn't get the opportunity, right? So here, again, the good luck and bad luck comes. So how we scientifically explain? This was the paper which was published in Science from Johns Hopkins, the bad luck of cancer, right? So, for that we have to go back to basics. There are certain cancers which come out of blue. For example, brain tumors, no known risk factors. Pancreatic tumor, no known risk factors. Cervical cancer, we know it's associated with HPV, but ovarian cancer, no known risk factors. So, and then a person who develops that cancer asks a question that why me? I have been a very pious person, very healthy lifestyle, but so how we explain that bad luck of cancer, right? In some cancers, you can always correlate. Chewer developed oral cancer makes sense. A smoker developed lung cancer or oral cancer or bladder cancer, quite established associations. But what about what I mentioned, like ovarian cancer, pancreatic cancer, brain tumors, lymphomas, and so on, right? So, as I said that the cancer is due to two reasons, either direct DNA damage or some problem in the regulation of the genes. That is called epigenetic. It also earned the Nobel Prize. Our organs perform so many different functions that it was not a long time ago that people thought that our genes in the brain must be different from genes in the liver, right? But now we know that on an average, an adult person have about, I think 300 trillion cells, that all cells have the same genes. And it is the regulation of those genes. For instance, those genes which produce, say, bilirubin are active in the liver and the others are silent. In some other organ, depending on the function, those genes are active and the others are silent. However, genes are the same in all the cells, right? So DNA is a fragile molecule that is continuously under assault from agents in the environment, our diet, and even from normal processes. Even, wear and tear type of thing even spontaneously goes on within our DNA all the time. And the Francis Crick, a physicist, Englishman, James Watson, a biologist from US, both working at Cavendish Lab in Cambridge in 1953. They, discovered the secret of life, the double helix, So if you go to Cambridge, just in front of that there is a pub called Beagle. Beagle or no, something like Beagle was the ship of the Charles Darwin. And they said, anyone who may be listening, that we have discovered the secret of life. And then they shared the Nobel Prize along with Wilkin Vincent's, from London in 1960. Right. So, human cells have 23 pairs of chromosomes. And after replication, each chromosome is composed of 2 identical sister chromatids. Right? Okay. However, this is again intriguing. DNA contains all the genetic information for the cell within 4-letter code, right? 4 nucleotides, 3 billion letters, and code around 23,000 genes. So at the turn of the century, when the whole human genome was sequenced, it took about 7 years by 2 groups, one in Europe and one in North America. People thought that there will be at least more than 100,000 genes which will be coding for proteins. But now we know that only about 22 to 23,000. Even a common fly have more coding genes than us, right? And that constitute only 2% of the DNA. 98% we call junk DNA because we don't understand it, Some of it may have lost its significance in evolutionary terms, but others probably play an important role in the regulation of the genes, what you call epigenetics, right? So, the DNA damage is at the heart of the carcinogenesis, right? Okay. And remember that all life is related, plant life as well as animal life. For example, if you sequence the human genome, which takes nowadays about a couple of days, and I think within few years it will take 2 to 3 hours for whole genome sequencing. 98% of our genes are identical to the chimpanzee. 72% are identical to the cabbage which you eat. So all life is related, right? We know that. Thomas Lindow, my favorite cancer scientist, a Nobel laureate, mainly from Sweden, but worked mostly at Cancer Research UK, and now time is over?
Within 5 minutes.
Okay. I won't be able to finish in 5 minutes. I thought I have more time because they have taken very little time. But I think I will finish at 11:10. My time 10:40 to 11:10, right? So Thomas Lindow, So as per him, that remember that about 300 trillion cells. And as per him, in a single day, the DNA in one cell suffers about 20,000 single strand breaks. But because the complementary sequences are present, they are immediately repaired. But the double-stranded, difficult to repair. For that, you need certain important genes like proteins and genes like BRCA1 and BRCA2, right? So if you can comprehend that, you will wonder that why cancer is so uncommon, So most dangerous form of DNA is the double-stranded damage, right? Okay, double-stranded DNA damage, because it's difficult to repair, right? You see, BRCA1 and BRCA2, are very important for DNA repair, particularly double-stranded DNA repair. You know the story of Angelina Jolie, Her mother died at the age of 56 by ovarian cancer. 56 is considered a young age, right? So it was thought, that was her mother carrying some mutations or inherited some fatal mutations like mutations in BRCA1 and BRCA2. So her family was screened, no symptoms, because BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations are germline mutations, right? So they are present in every cell, and it was found that indeed she was carrying some very fatal mutations with a very high chance, more than 85%, to develop all kinds of cancers, particularly breast and ovarian cancer. So she underwent double mastectomy, at the peak of her career, right? So the message is that life is more important, and the first goal is to save life. And then the news came that she also underwent double oophorectomy, because these are the two cancers which have a strong association with BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations. And these three, here is the Thomas Lindo, they won the Nobel Prize on DNA repair in 2015 in chemistry. And when they recite the basic research carried out by 2015 Nobel laureates in chemistry has not only deepened our knowledge of how we function, but could also lead to the development of life-saving treatments. With cells able to repair themselves, one could ponder the dazzling possibility that humans could go on living forever. So that's how we age. Though this is theoretical, but we know that, it's all boils to that. So basically, because time is short, so I have to unfortunately pass through that. As I said, that many cancers have a very small influence of environment, right? And they come just out of blue. And actually what happens that before any cell divides, it doubles its DNA. And then exactly 50% of the genes goes into one cell and 50% just like a photocopying. So during photocopying, if just by chance an error is made, that is called, the most common is point mutation. Single nucleotide is replaced by another one. It may have its consequences. So just by chance, right? So chance mutations occurs because errors can be made when a cell copies and divides its DNA, right? So basically, the cells which replenish our old cells are the stem cells. So basically, these random mutations happens in stem cells. So I won't go how they actually, this was from that science paper, and you see that total stem cell divisions during lifetime and the lifetime risk. So the stem cells in colorectum during their life 10 to the 13 multiplications compared to the about 10 to the 11 in duodenum. So more chances, and we know that colorectal cancers are much more common than small bowel cancers, because a cell which is dividing 10 to the 13 times are more likely to make error, right, compared to that. So it was very intriguing. So blessing in disguise is that cancer in which 50% of the mutations are due to random error can still be preventable. The reason is that it generally, cancer requires more than one hit, right? So if you can avoid the next one, so it will stop at that point, right? So healthy lifestyle is still helpful. So I will just skip that. Okay. So these are another group after smoking, the second biggest group of preventable cancers, infections, right? HPV with cervical cancer, 100% association, EBV, hepatitis B, HHV8, HTLV1, Helicobacter pylori, we know, certain fungi, certain parasites. So message is, a large proportion of mutations being down to chance error, the researchers argue this makes a case for more to be done to use this information to try and diagnose cancer earlier. So which one you cannot prevent, the only thing if you can screen. like in breast cancer. Breast cancer is again mostly comes out of blue. You can minimize the risk but can't, So 10 rules to avoid cancer. I am finishing almost. About 1/3 of the burden, is related to tobacco, right? Right? So science works. Planes fly, cars drive, computers compute. If you base medicine on science, you cure people. If you base the design of planes on science, they fly. If you base the design of rockets on science, they reach the moon or beyond. It works, right? It's evidence-based, right? So this was the book, Atlas of Diagnostic and Predictive Histopathology, because the role of the pathologist is now by running a battery of tests that, this patient carries this mutation. For example, this patient carries BRAF mutation, so targeted therapy is available, anti-BRAF. So irrespective what type of cancer needs anti-BRAF treatment. So thank you for your attention. Thank you.